Oh, welcome everyone. I thought we show first a video, but it's great to see so many participants at this point already. Yeah, I'm not quite certain, quite confused actually with the video.
I'll show it now.
Okay.
Give me a second. I'll show it now.
All right. Welcome again. I'm really glad that you all joined, and I think you made a good choice because in this afternoon you will learn about a rather unique master's program that will teach you a lot for your life. I'm Lucas. I'm a student myself, and I will guide you throughout this afternoon. But let's first look at some general rules for this meeting. So please keep your cameras turned off. I think that's already what almost everyone is doing. Keep yourself muted. You can be unmuted if there are questions during the Q&A, just raise your hand. Also, please note that the session is recorded. And if you have questions and don't want to raise your hand or say them out loud, please feel free to use the chat box. We will keep monitoring this and forward your questions to the relevant speaker at the time. For the program, I'm currently giving you a short introduction. And after me, Martijn Willemsen will tell you a bit about the general structure of the master program, its contents, and its philosophy. After that, Fabian, also a student, will give you a bit of an introduction about the student life and what it's really like to study in this master program. So not maybe the classes, but the life all around classes. Finally, Maike will still give some insights into the MKB Data Lab. That's a really great initiative at JADS, and that alone could be the reason for you to join JADS, which is quite an exciting environment. And we try to replicate this then at the end of the meeting in the Gather Town, where we can still have some chats with each other. This officially goes until 4:30, but I guess it's open-ended. So if you still want to chat a bit, play some games, feel free to hang around. Now, a bit from my side, maybe. I think personally, this is a really great program, which is also why I try to convince you to come join us. And the three things that are most valuable to me and to many of my fellow students are, first of all, the community we have at JADS, the diversity in terms of backgrounds and experience from different students coming all around from different places, but also from different studies, different cities. And finally, it's really the end-to-end understanding of data science, from the basic problem, understanding it, until having a good solution. And each of the following speakers will, from their perspective, also touch up on some of these topics during their presentation. Next up, we have Martijn Willemsen. He is the basically deputy program coordinator and teaches the course on interactive and explainable AI design. This is a course which is still quite new, but is quite important in the program. And let's see, maybe you can spot how the three things I mentioned before are actually reflected within the entire program. Martijn, please go ahead.
Thank you, Lucas, and welcome all. I'm waiting to get control over the slides. Yeah, thank you. It doesn't seem that I have control anymore. No, sorry. We had this problem earlier today and we fixed it, but it seems that it's again not working.
I'll take over then if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. 1 second.
Okay, so today I'll give you an introduction on our Master of Data Science and Entrepreneurship. Next slide, please. Yes, so you see a beautiful picture of our main lecture hall, which is a chapel. And this looks really cool, but that's because the JADS campus is indeed a cool place to be. And it's not just a cool place to be, it's also a place where we do cool stuff. We do cool stuff that matters, that is relevant for business and society, and we do it with data. And that's a great opportunity to be in this program for that. Can we get the next slide, please? So I'm Martijn Willemsen. I'm Associate Professor of Human Decision Making in Interactive Systems. And I work for the larger part at JADS, for the rest I'm at TU Eindhoven. And my research is on recommender systems and artificial intelligence, and then mostly the user and the consumer side of things. So how can we use data to understand human decision making and take that knowledge to improve recommender systems and AI? I'm also the adjunct or deputy program director, and I'm teaching indeed the course Explainable Interactive AI Design. And I'm also the co-teacher of the Superconscious course, which is an elective in the second year. Apart from that, I'm also teaching several of the executive modules for the professional education, teaching where I'm teaching to people from companies that are being here on campus, get a 1 day a week data science program course. I'm also a supervisor of many of the thesis projects at JADS, which is a very cool stuff to do. So let's go to the next slide. What will I discuss today? So I first tell you a little bit about JADS and the unique things that JADS have. And then I will go in detail about the master program and how it's very different from many other master programs. I'll give you some examples of courses and projects that students do. And I'll tell you a little bit about what you need to have to be able to get in the admission. And after that, I hope we have a lot of time for Q&A. And if we run out of time, I will be there for the Gather Town meeting as well to answer all your questions. Next slide. So JADS is all about data, but not data on its own. It's how we can create value from data. And one of our alumni said, I'm using data to support business decisions. And that's one of the things we do at JADS. Can I have the next slide? JADS was founded about 5 years ago. It's part of the initiative between Eindhoven and Tilburg University to have a joint data science program. It was opened by Her Majesty the Queen Maxima in December 1 in 2016. And I've been involved in this beautiful place to work since the beginning when it was still under construction. But now we have a beautiful university in a very nice building, an old monastery. On the picture, you actually see Maxima next to Xenia, who is our program director. Can I have the next slide? So what's so unique about JADS? It's not just the building, although the building is really nice. It's the fact that we have a data science campus here in Den Bosch, where education, research, and business meet. There are startups in the building. Students are all over the place out if we don't have COVID. And we do research. There are several researchers walking around doing their stuff. So it's a very active campus in a very nice building. And it's a community of data entrepreneurs in the broad sense of the word. And you can be part of that by being here in the master program. It's relatively small. A lot of people basically know each other and you meet each other on campus. And you can even live on campus if you would like to do that. We have on-campus housing available. The campus itself, it's at the edge of the old city center of Den Bosch. It's only 5 minutes walk from the central station. So it's easy to get lunch in the city. It's very easy to get to the station and go back to Eindhoven and Tilburg if you might be living there right now. And you can even actually just commute to Den Bosch while studying at JADS if you want, because that's easy. But of course, Den Bosch is also a very beautiful city to live. So that makes yet a unique place for data science stuff. Our current master has about 165 master students with 27 international students, so it's very international as well. You always hear people in the hallways talking English all the time. There's the 6 applied research labs, for which my recommended lab is one. We have over 100 professional education participants from companies doing a data science program. And we collaborate with over 300 companies in the region, in the ecosystem of Den Bosch and around there. So, and these companies allow students to do projects, get data, and work together. And we also do research together. Not just companies, but also the municipality, the Noord-Brabants Museum. We're working with the Efteling. Very cool data science projects. Next slide, please. So JADS was originally is a collaboration between TU Eindhoven and Tilburg University, where Eindhoven brings the engineering, Tilburg brings society, and JADS brings the entrepreneurship part. There's a joint Bachelor of Data Science between TU Eindhoven and Tilburg that gives you direct entrance to this master. This master is one of the master programs in data science. On the TU side, you can also do more technical engineering masters. On the Tilburg side, you can do a bit more societal oriented data science masters. And JADS is sort of in the middle. It's both quite much more engineering-like than the masters you will find in Tilburg. But on the other hand, it's more geared towards society and business than the masters that you will find in Eindhoven. And we're not just doing a master program, we also have a pre-master program. We have a PDN program with a postmaster where students after their master do a more professional education. We have PhD students in the building doing research and becoming a researcher. And we have professional education. So it's a broad institute of very diverse group of people interested in data science and entrepreneurship. Next slide, please. So what is so unique about JADS and especially the master program? So it's an interdisciplinary program that's quite challenging. You will have courses, both data science, but also business, but also human decision making. And you'll have this interdisciplinary program, not just between courses, but also within courses. Even in every course, there is a data set, even if it's a business course. You will try to apply that scientific knowledge to real life cases. And especially in the challenge-based learning line we have in the DIA courses, which I tell you a bit more about that later, you will apply that knowledge in real life, in real practice. We have companies joining us through the MKB Data Lab and to the DIA 2 course, in which you actually get real company experience. And we have a lot of students actually starting up their own startup. 21 already have been or are being founded by students right now. Supported by the playground incubator that we have. Next to that, your thesis project will also be very multidisciplinary. You will not just work with data or just do business. You will try to combine the two. And you will try to balance a scientific contribution against the business and society impact. A lot of these theses have resulted in scientific publications. And we, with our background universities in Eindhoven and Tilburg, we have about 65 supervisors that can help you getting through that master thesis. Next slide. So this is the boring slide about official things about the master. It's a 2-year master. It's because it's a technical master. It's of course in English and a full-time master program. There's no part-time version. You will get a Master of Science in Data Science degree. It's a joint degree between Eindhoven and Tilburg. And there's one moment that you can start the master, which is end of August. If you don't qualify right now and you need to do pre-master courses, that program starts in February. And of course, it's NVO accredited. Next slide, please. Okay, a lot of details about what the master is, but of course you want to know, okay, what do you teach us? Now, I first want to tell you a little bit about the philosophy, and this slide captures that very nicely. We try to turn data into value by not just doing data science, which most data science programs do. They will teach you how to engineer data to get from raw data to data that you can actually analyze. And they will tell you also how to do the analysis on that data, running nice deep learning models or whatever. But that is where it often stops. But once you have done your analysis, what are you going to do with those insights that come out of data? How are you going to make decisions with that data? How are you going to steer your company based on those insights? How are you going to change your processes? That's what we do in the other part, the entrepreneurship part, where you go from data-driven decision-making towards data-driven business development, which could be developing your new digital platform or helping customers with a better recommender system. We also value the societal and business aspects of these things, because you can do data science without knowing the law and the GDPR regulations, for example. And of course, ethics is really important now that data science algorithms quite often are biased if you don't approach them in the right way. So all of these are part of our master program. Can I get the next slide? And that gives you a bit of the broadness of the program. So here you see the 4 components again, with all the courses that are connected to it. What's important to realize here is that all these courses are in and of themselves multidisciplinary. So we have 4 disciplines, but even within the disciplines, as you can see by the shading, you see that some data engineering courses also have some data analytics, or the other way around. That our data-driven decision-making courses are actually bridging the data analytics with the business aspects, and that even a course about business models is doing a little bit of analytics. Next slide, please. Also, the master thesis basically follows through these same 4 disciplines. You start from engineering to data analytics to data decision-making towards the business impact of your thesis proposal. Next slide, please. So what exact courses do we teach you, and where are they in the program? What you see here is the curriculum as it is currently planned for next year. Every course is a 6 ECTS course. So there will be 5 courses per semester. It's a semester-based program, which is different from Eindhoven, where it's a quartile-based program. And in the first semester, so you basically get 5 courses, and you see that you actually get courses from all the domains. We have engineering, analytics, strategy and business models, and the first course in data entrepreneurship in action, and an IP and privacy course. Then in the second semester, you already have a few electives where you can actually choose between entrepreneurial marketing or finance, and between deep learning, or which is more data analytics, or data architectures, which is a more data engineering type of course. Then in the second year, you can see that your master thesis runs actually throughout the whole second year. It's a 24 ECTS project that you combine together with a few other courses and a bunch of electives, including 2 minors, one on agro-food and the other one on crime, safety and security. On top of that, along all these courses, you will try to develop your professional skills in interviewing, negotiation, creative thinking, those sort of things. So it's a very diverse program that has a lot of engineering, but also a lot of societal courses, and in which you develop a lot of your professional skills as well. Next slide, please. Since you're actually, I guess, being in this Zoom call, you're probably planning to start the earliest next year. So you actually, this next curriculum, which is planned in 2023, is also relevant for you. because actually we plan to extend our minor program a little bit more. So we tend to think about also having a health and vitality minor program and a data science research minor. But we're currently still considering these things. We also are thinking about more discipline-specific minors. And we're currently surveying our students also on their preferences to see how we can best adapt our program to this. So I can't really promise you what precise minors there will be in that at the time that you have to choose them, but it will be actually be probably more diverse and more choice than you have right now. Next slide, please. So a little bit about that second year in which you do your master thesis, but in which you also have these electives. So how does that work? You basically have two minors that you can choose one from, and there are several other electives like social network analysis or supercomputer or data visualization, or a text mining elective that we're currently developing that you can choose next to the minors and next to the other required courses. Next slide, please. Okay, to give you, let me see how time-wise. Yeah, I think I'm still good. So I just took 4 relevant courses to show you again the 4 disciplines we have in our program. So on the data engineering side, this is the basic course in data engineering, where you learn about principles and techniques for offline data engineering integration, things like data models, data modeling, and NoSQL, stuff like that. And then you learn about how to integrate, store, and process data in runtime using cloud computing, database architectures, and stuff like that. Then, can I have the next slide? Thank you. In the second discipline is about data analytics, where one course, for example, is prescriptive algorithms, sorry for that, where you do optimization and things like swarm intelligence and evolutionary algorithms, where you basically try to develop state-of-the-art new algorithms to really understand what's happening in your data. Next slide, please. Of course, I have to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing in my own course on interactive and explainable AI design. This is a course where we basically look at, okay, these insights that we get from these models, these very complex deep learning models, how can we ever understand whether that model is doing the right thing? How can we interpret the data that comes out of it? How can we understand that it's actually working as it should? And if it does, how can we then explain to an end user or to other data scientists how our model works? That's explainable AI, which is a very hot topic, which is coming about right now, especially now since also the governments require people to explain what algorithms are doing, but also because it's just sometimes quite hard to understand what your data methods do. And it's even harder to explain to other people. One aspect of explanation that works really well is people can interact with these systems. I'm not sure about you, but my own research is on interactive recommender systems, just purely, for example, because I'm always frustrated with Netflix not letting me tell the system better what it should do in terms of recommending me movies. And how can you make your Spotify system more interactive so that I have even more control on the recommendation? So these are the topics that we discuss in this course. And then we actually take those insights to design our own new prototypes for interactive and explainable AI systems and test them with real users. Next slide, please. I think to conclude with these examples of courses from the 4 domains, I want to talk about strategy and business models, which is a course that actually helps you to understand how you can develop new business models and new digital platforms. But we actually start from data in this course, where you first learn about topic modeling, such that you can understand what sort of things are happening in the outside world, and then use that data to get relevant results from managers and entrepreneurs to develop new business models. Next slide, please. Central in our program, and I haven't talked much about this yet, is the Data Entrepreneurship in Action learning line. These are 3 courses that offer you a challenge-based learning experience in which you get real data sets from real companies, and you will be provided with challenges by these companies to work on those data sets. And these could be the the Wildlife Fund, the Wereld Natuurfonds in Dutch, or Bastrux or Florin or whatever. And you work in groups, getting to understand and model that data. And then in the third year, in the third course, in the second year, you actually are going to do your own venture idea or your own startup idea and try to see if you can get that startup working. And we will link you to the JADS Playground to do that, or the talent program at Tilburg University, or even you can do that within a big corporate business like CZ to explore opportunities. Now, the cool thing about these courses is that you actually learn to apply all these data science techniques and the societal aspects that you learn in the business courses in those projects. And then together, I think with the thesis that you're also doing, you already have a lot of experience in actually applying all the things that we learned you in real life. So you actually get work experience while doing the master for free. Next slide. Okay, then I want to talk a little bit about the master thesis, where everything comes together. You start with a data set, but you're not just data mining it, you're actually looking at those insights and how you can make business impact or societal impact with that data. The data sets are typically coming from companies, and most of our students actually do their thesis project with a company, but some students also get it from elsewhere by scraping or collecting it in another way, or even doing it with their own company in the JADS Playground, or together with a researcher in our lab doing a more scientific data science project. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the JADS Playground is a unique part of JADS where we actually help our students to develop their own startups and businesses. It's an incubator in that sense, but it's a tailor-made for our students. And it's important because actually we surveyed our students and we found out that many of them actually chose our program because they liked that entrepreneurial aspect, and that they are most of them actually have an idea that they want to develop a startup or have some ideas for a startup. And as you can see, even 32% already has its own startup while being in the master. That doesn't mean that you have to want to have a startup to follow this master program. Of course, you should be interested in the entrepreneurial part of data science for sure, or the societal aspects as well. But there's a lot of room if you are interested in these entrepreneurial parts at JADS to develop them. Sorry. Next slide, please. And we have already a lot of graduates, and in this slide you can actually see where they are working. And these are big companies, smaller companies, startups, universities. Some are PhD candidates in our own or running our MKB data labs, as Mike, who will tell you more about that later today. She's on my left side there. I'm looking over there. But also ABN AMRO or Heijmans, big companies that use a lot of our students, either as data scientists or data engineers or as consultants. So as you can see, it's quite a diverse type of businesses you get to work in. And data science, of course, is a very new field. And there's a lot of demand for data scientists. So I think it will not be too hard to get a job once you graduate in our place. Go ahead, next slide, please. Okay, so this is a great master program, I would say. But of course, you need to get in first. And what are our requirements? Now, our requirements are that you have some level of engineering or technical or mathematical background. So we require all our students to have at least 10 ECTS of mathematics and statistics courses in their current bachelor program. And on top of that, they should have followed courses in introductions to computer science or data science, in databases, in algorithms. In programming, you have to have some feeling on how to program, because a lot of data science work is actually programming the analysis and algorithms that you use for data analytics and data engineering. And you should have learned a little bit about machine learning and data mining already. This makes sure that you can keep track of the level of the master level course, the master level of our data science courses in the program. Next slide, please. If you happen to be from Bachelor IE and IS from Eindhoven University, there's actually a nice coherent package that you can choose that will give you a direct entrance to this program. And next slide, please. So if you fail these requirements in terms of all these courses, you can do our pre-master. You would still have to have had 10 ECTS of mathematics and a minimum of 10 ECTS of statistics, but you could do the following 5 courses in the pre-master program, which starts in February, in which we will bring you up to speed to become the data science-y enough to be able to do our master program. And these include statistics, databases, data structures, programming, and machine learning again. Next slide, please. So already long ago, when people start to talk about data science, Harvard Business Review said data science is the sexy job of the 21st century, sorry. And yeah, it is, but I think you should definitely also then take the most sexiest data science program in the most sexiest institute, which I think is the JADS building and the JADS community that we are in here. Next slide, please. So let me summarize. Our master program combines technological and entrepreneurial knowledge and skills. In all courses, you work with data science, even if you focus on business and entrepreneurial stuff. We have a lot of evidence-based and design-based learning where you practice your data science skills. You get a real-life experience in starting your own data venture or startup. And yeah, and basically it's a joint program between Eindhoven and Tilburg. Tilburg is the penvoerder in that, so it's the master is led by Tilburg University, but you can actually register as a Eindhoven University student or as a Tilburg University student. That doesn't really make a difference in terms of the program that you are doing. It might make a difference in how much options you have to do an international semester. There's no international semester in our program, but there is an opportunity to do some courses abroad if you would like to. And those opportunities differ a little bit between universities. I don't know the exact details, but other people might be able to help you there. And I think also the admissions fee differ. So definitely check out, and it might also depend on actually where you're studying right now. What would be the easiest way to get into this program and to register for it. I think I'm done with my presentation. So I'm happy to answer any questions. No, I think there are already quite some questions in the chat. So shall I just go over the chat or? So Nina has a specific question regarding eligibility. Can I ask it here? Yes, in a second. Let me, the statistics requirement, how it's defined. I don't know these details. I think that will be determined also by the admission committee. But we basically require all our students to have sufficient statistical knowledge. You get in the pre-master already a statistics course. But I don't know the exact details here, but we can help you with that question, I think, later. Will the master be more analyzing algorithms and or really programming? You will be programming your own algorithms. I think that's what data scientists do. It's not a computer science course. So the programming is serving the goal of getting your analysis and data engineering done. Whenever you get a data set, it's never ready to be analyzed. You always have to do some data engineering, some programming and coding to get the data in shape for your analytics. And sometimes you can use simple packages to do that. Also, the algorithms might be simple packages you can install in Python. Sometimes you have to program them yourself. But the programming is mostly in Python and mostly or R, and it's typically serving the goal of developing analysis and algorithms. Is there, let me check. How many students start the program each year? I think about 60 to 80 is what we are at right now. We had, and that we also expect next year again. So we're hoping that we'll have another 80 students next year. With the Corona and COVID times, it was a bit different. As an HBO student complying with requirements, is it mandatory to follow the pre-master? I think it is, because you will need to have these courses. I'm see Fabian nodding a lot, because we require you to have these courses on the master level. Sorry, on a academic bachelor level and not on an HBO level. So I think that's why we still require you to do the pre-master. I think that's I already answered. For the mathematics requirements, is about theoretical math, linear algebra, calculus, or practical math courses, programming modeling. I think programming modeling is not, especially programming is not math. Modeling depends a little bit on the course. So it's more about the basic mathematics. Indeed, algebra or calculus are the type of courses that we expect you to have knowledge about. How is the cohesion of the students starting each year? Are they around 20 or more spread out? But, oh, is that about the age, or I'm not sure what the question is. There's a lot of messages now in this chat, so it's the age. So I think most of them are older than 20, because you would have to have done a full bachelor program. So it's more like 22, and some are even older, because they might actually, also international students are sometimes a bit older, but most of them are early 20, I think. But maybe Fabian and Lucas can verify that. But there are some students that are a bit older, but most of them are just around 25 or 24, 23 or 22. Can I find more information somewhere about specific courses? I guess you can find that partly on our JADS website, but maybe others can help you. Okay. So now I'm a bit lost where, can somebody help me with other questions I still want to? Me and Tim are doing the same bachelor data science, artificial intelligence. Yeah, so this is about whether statistics is spread out to the program. I think that's something that the admission committee will look at when they assess your program. Yeah, so we definitely use Python libraries like PyTorch and Keras, I think, and many others. Let me see if I missed anything. Ratio male to female, that's a good question.
1 in 4, I think.
1 in 4, yeah, that's Fabian says 1 in 4. I think that's about right. It depends from year to year, of course. So, and of course, yeah, 1 in 4 means 1 female and 4 males.
All right, guys. Maybe we should conclude this at this point. There's still plenty of time to ask some questions, and also later on in the Gather Town, everyone will be present, and you can approach also Martijn directly. Also, Fabian and I, we have some knowledge about the content of the program. After all, we're in the 2nd year and almost followed all the courses. So on that topic, please let me introduce you to Fabian. He is, I would say, one of the most visible students at JADS, and he's helping us a lot in every regard. So please feel also free to ask him questions about how he's experiencing the studies, the courses, but also the social life around JADS. But on this topic, please go ahead, Fabian.
Thank you very much. Yes, well, this is me. I am Fabian. I am a second-year master student here at JADS. I will kind of fly through my presentation quite quickly, but there will be a Q&A after a short virtual tour of the campus. So keep in mind the things you want to hear me talk more about, whether it's the topic I will talk about here, I study at JADS, and initiatives and projects I have done and am doing here, but also things about going abroad. I'm going to Korea in September, and things like housing, I live on campus, those kind of. So shortly, my background, I've done a bachelor's in artificial intelligence. I've done this at Radboud University in Nijmegen. And I've also done a pre-bachelor in dance. I like both the arts and sciences very much. And that's what I did before I came here to JADS. Main interests will then also not surprise you. I love arts, I love science, I love the combination of both. And one of my main topics of interest with regards to research is also very much creativity and innovation research. This also comes back in my thesis, which is very fun because the thesis at JADS it's very free. You can do basically whatever you want as long as it's both data science and entrepreneurial, which mine it certainly is. And I really like setting up initiatives, which is my segue into the next slide. Nice. So why did I come to JADS? Well, very simply, when I was looking for a master's, I wanted to do a data science master. That was clear to me, but I did want to go into research. I found this out during all kinds of extracurricular activities during my bachelor's, and I was looking around, but the vast majority of data science masters were actually going to steamroll you more or less into research. And that was not really my cup of tea. I wanted to do data science masters, but I wanted to understand from start to finish, how do you create an idea? How do you validate with an idea has value? How do you then create the data-driven solution? And how do you put it into practice? And that means that you also need a lot of business knowledge. How do you make sure that whatever your idea is, that it actually works with your stakeholders? How do you make sure that if you're working within a company, that the solutions you build using data also actually comply to the vision of the actual board, of the actual managers? How do you connect those two dots? Because in many businesses, you actually find that many fields actually talk past each other because they're not knowledgeable about how the other person works and what their priorities are. So I wanted both data science and I wanted both business in my master's. And at JADS, I found it, basically. It's called data science and entrepreneurship. I would almost more call it data science and business because inherent in business is entrepreneurship very important, but JADS, it doesn't only make you ready for entrepreneurship, but also for intrapreneurship, setting things up within businesses, understanding businesses themselves. That was what I was looking for in a master's, understanding the whole chain, understanding both business and data. That's what I found here. And one of the most amazing things about JADS is all the initiatives it offers. And that's my segue into my last slide. Because this is an overview of some of the projects I've done whilst at JADS, both present and past. And I've forgotten a few. But the thing about JADS is that if you bring some initiative, then so many things are possible. You can approach companies that are here on campus. You can approach professors to do whatever you want. You can join the MKB Data Lab, which Mike will talk more about, which I'm also part of. It's where I set up my own freelance business and have done already a few projects. I did a summer project on natural language processing for hair salons that wanted to automatically via phone call see whether or not an appointment was made, yes or no, and do some evaluations on the how well their employees were doing. I did a regular project building a financial dashboard and just succeeded in finishing the data body project, which was a very interesting project together with the municipality of Den Bosch, and we'll do another data body project in a few weeks that starts in a few weeks. I'm also ambassador for the study. I've done a lot of things that also opens doors, or well, ambassadorship opens doors for you to take advantage of. I've spoken at the Den Bosch Data Week. I've presented and speak at open days, like here. I'm currently helping set up a JADS podcast, which is really fun. And basically, because so much ingrained into the study here is entrepreneurship and setting up initiative. If you have an idea, you can do something with. If you want to do something, doors are open everywhere. And that's really what I wanted to do here. I wanted to set up initiatives, and develop myself both professionally and socially. And that's more or less what I found. Yeah, I'm currently doing the SDG challenge, which is a competition between the 12 universities in the Netherlands on the Sustainability Development Goals of the UN, which is super fun. And you also meet a lot of different people on there. Because we're joint masters, I'm representing the Technical University of Eindhoven, not Tilburg. Sorry, Tilburg. And I'm currently doing my thesis, which in a nutshell is on how to use a data-driven approach using constraints in order to stimulate creativity. In a nutshell, sounds kind of wacky, but it's a super cool topic. That's basically what I'm currently doing, what I've done here, and why I chose to come to JADS. And I am extremely glad I came here. And feel free again to ask me anything.
Should I play the video now? Yeah, okay.
Hi, welcome to JADS. Come on in. Hi, welcome to JADS and to our amazing campus. We'll start our journey today in the chapel, which is the main center focal point of the university. And during our travels here, you'll see in a mini-map in the corner of the screen the chapel in the center and exactly how we're walking around it. It's an incredibly easy focal point for you to know where you are in the building. Let's start. And now we'll be going to the basement floor. Hi, this is the Refter room. This used to be the convent's kitchen, but nowadays it's used for recording lectures using the green screen or recording other things. And if it isn't utilized, you can use the couches, the chairs, or the windowsills to just chill and do whatever you want here. This here is one of the workplaces that the JADS offers towards any startups that start within JADS. It's SODA. SODA stands for Social Data Science. And this is just one of the ways that JADS supports entrepreneurship within the own premises. Next, we'll go to the atrium. And here we have arrived at the atrium. This space is also used as a gathering point where you see professors talking to students, students talking to professionals, professionals talking to professors. It's truly a meeting point of everyone located within JADS. Cool. We have now arrived at the JADS garden, a true hidden gem. And we've arrived at the top. JADS does offer a lot of free exercise. We continue. We've now arrived at what we call the zolder, or the attic. This is our group project room where there's many different whiteboards for you to use, grouped tables, and there's always pens and pencils and anything basically that you need for your group projects here present. There's also a great view of the Dommel, the river that's flowing next to the monastery. And in general, it's a really easy room to get your group projects done here. Next, we go to the MKB Data Lab. This here is the MKB Data Lab. The MKB Data Lab is a small organ within the university itself where students as freelancers do autonomously data science projects for real customers. This is a great way to earn some extra dosh on the side and also get real life working experience whilst being a student. More information on this can of course be found on the website. Otherwise, you can always also approach me for this. Next, we go to a different place. Welcome to my favorite place on this university. This is the balcony. We've now arrived at the balcony of the chapel. These are when the lecture hall is not used, the chapel is not used. These are converted into silent study places. You see in this grand hall still many relics of the past, from a confession booth embedded into the wall to this pipe organ that, yes, actually still works. And from this balcony, you have an amazing view of the grand chapel from above. Next, we will visit the company wing, and that will, in the end, be the finalization of our tour. We've now arrived at one of the hidden staircases littered throughout the building. It was as such in the past that the nuns that were in practice were not allowed to cross paths with the men or the older nuns. So you have all kinds of hidden staircases and pathways littered throughout the convent. Now, one of the other remnants of the past that we have here is a confession booth, as we can see here. This is the place where data science students can come and confess their terrible coding sins, as is currently being done by these people. Next on to the companies. This is where JADS has many different workplaces organized for companies to come and be within the university campus itself. If we continue on through this route, we will come back to the garden where we will end this talk. We've now arrived back at the garden, and as such we conclude our tour. Thank you very much for watching. We hope you've gotten a good glimpse of what this campus and this great university has to offer, and hope to be able to meet you all very soon. Thank you very much.
Well, perfect. I hope that gives a bit of an overview of the campus. Seeing yourself like that, stays awful. Okay, so we have some questions to start with. I saw one on start. Yeah, is it also common that students start business and startups together besides the studies? Yeah, very common. Currently, in the last semester of your studies, there's the course Data Entrepreneurship in Action 3. Which takes you through the entire journey of setting up your own company. And there are multiple people who actually start up their own company through that course. Friends of mine who have done it the last semester have actually literally done that. They went through the course, they won the pitch at the end, and now they're going through all the stages of possibly setting up their own company. And even though they didn't really have the thought of doing so beforehand, in the end, they did, because apparently there was some value in it. So, yeah, certainly. Possible to go abroad within the master's program. It is on top of the master's program. So for example, I'm going to Korea. I can do, for example, 1 or 2 electives in Korea, but I wouldn't be able to do so many electives in Korea that I would fit within the 2 years of the master's. It is, if you're going abroad, going to be 2.5 years. Maybe also just to point out about housing. I'm currently living on campus, especially for international students. If you want to try and get into the campus living spaces here, which are really nice, don't email them, just keep calling. I tried emailing the people here. It's called GAP. You can find the link on the JADS website. Emailing them doesn't work. They have a waiting list, which they don't use. So just call them and see if they have any opportunities or not. Because as an international student, you get a lot of priority above us poor Dutch students. And if there are no other questions.
Well, I do have a question, Fabian.
Lucas.
So maybe you can tell a bit on how the studying is actually and how it goes with your fellow students, and maybe a bit about the teamwork that is quite a central part of the program, right?
Certain. Yeah, there's a lot of certainly group projects within the masters. There's a lot of different groups that you work with. I would say that the work pressure generally is common for masters. It isn't especially high or especially low. I think it's pretty decent. And oftentimes you have the freedom to make it as difficult as you want. If you want to really, for example, go into, I don't know, natural language processing, feel free. There's a lot of opportunities there and a lot of support if you want to do so. If that kind of answers what you've thought.
Yeah, I think so. It's quite clear.
I heard you saying working autonomous and building a startup, does it mean individually also really together? What you want. Literally within the course, DEA 3, so Data Entrepreneurship in Action 3, you can also include external partners if you want, people who aren't actually studying here within the group. You can start up individually. You can go, for example, to the JADS Playground. They can certainly help you with that. You can also go and start freelance if you go through the data lab. And you can also just grab a few friends together and start a company together. Everything's a possibility, certainly. And yes, there is elective space in the program. You can see the electives we have on campus on the website, but you can also follow electives at Technical University of Eindhoven or in Tilburg if you want. There's no real limit to that, I think, except for having the prerequisites, but that's of course. And yeah, what Anne said about going abroad is also very important. If those were all the questions, I'll give it back to Lucas, and otherwise I'll also be in the Gather Town at the end.
I will not let you leave that fast, Fabian. I still have one question for you, maybe. Since you're quite active also with organizing the education and helping students bridging the gap, how would you say is JADS different from a big campus? What's the main difference in coming to JADS rather than going to a huge campus like Tilburg or Eindhoven?
This is not priming me at all. No, but a really good point. The campus here is incredibly convenient because you have basically one building, which is beautiful, but also pretty, it's big enough that you always have opportunities to study, but it's also small enough that everyone is within the campus itself. And aside from the atmosphere, that's just incredibly cozy and gezellig, a Dutch word that as an international you have to learn. If you want to be active within the own convent, within this own place, we have our own room. You didn't see it on the actual virtual tour this time, but it's in the bigger version. We have our own room for the study association, normally post-COVID, pre-COVID. We had weekly drinks. We had all kinds of fun activities here. And basically, if there's any problem ever or anything needs to be solved, everyone is in the building, from study advisors to IT professionals, everyone. So it's incredibly convenient to have such a small campus that is purely only for your masters, because that also means that you have a really big say in what happens on campus. Going to be more study places, more room for companies, etc. It's all for you. So if you want to change things, then it's certainly open for it.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Fabian. And I think this is also a good point to have a quick recap of what we heard so far. In the spirit of what you just said, Fabian, the community I had also mentioned in the beginning really comes out, I think. And while Martijn touched upon this more from the official level, mentioning the ecosystem of JADS and how it is integrated with the DEA courses and the companies and the research in one place. Seeing it also from your perspective, Fabian, is quite nice. The both of you also talked about the end-to-end, particularly with the philosophy, Martijn, but also you, Fabian, when you mentioned your motivation to join JADS and really pointed out that the value of processing not only data, but also creating value out of it and understanding the business side that follows up some analytics and data engineering tasks. Next up, Maike will introduce you to the MKB Data Lab. In this part, she will also touch upon a bit the diversity that is needed to achieve this and the teams with various backgrounds that tackle tasks from even more diverse fields and how this is actually helping us and everyone in the vicinity around JADS to create a better world. So Maike, please go ahead.
Create a better world. That sounds very ambitious. Thank you, Lucas.
Why not?
We'll do our best. Can you go to skip the next slide and then to hi, I'm Maike. So one following. Yes. So hi everyone. My name is Maike. You can see me in this picture. I graduated in the summer of 2019. As you can see, the group is not as big as the group of students that graduate now, because as Martijn said, there start around 60 to 80 students every year from now on. While I was one of the first cohorts that graduated, the third to be more precisely. And in my cohort, there were only, well, you can count them, but I believe approximately 20. And we were at 15 in the pre-masters. So that was very, very small. But yeah, you knew everyone, and it made it very a unique experience. Also because everyone was from a different background. We see someone from Greece, we see someone from America, from Turkey, but not only from different nationalities, also from different studies. One of them studied psychology. I studied industrial engineering, which is a very common course to have followed before you start your master. I think 50% in my time was from the industrial engineering part in Eindhoven. But that made it very fun to work with, because everyone has a different background and everyone brings up different kind of ideas because of the different backgrounds. And that led to a very diverse group, as Lucas said. That's one of the main pillars also from JADS, and makes it a very unique university. So now I am active in the alumni committee as well, which is very easy to do so because I'm still working at JADS. And that's just what I want to talk to you a little bit more about in the following slides. Some of them have already spoiled a little bit, like Fabian and Martijn. They mentioned the Data Lab a few times now, so maybe it's good to tell you a little bit more about it. When JADS was founded a few years ago, the big companies like KPN, CZ came directly to JADS saying, oh, we want to have those data scientists. And we see that they bring value for us and we want them. But at the same time, a lot is being developed. You see at the self-driving cars, for example, that's something that is super cool. Of course, we all know it. But at the same time, there are many companies that still cannot apply this knowledge. So here is an example of 3 supermarkets. The first one is a local supermarket, which some of you might know, which is around the corner, and the owner of the supermarket might even know you and say good morning to you every time you walk by. While on the right side, you see Amazon Go, which is one of the first supermarkets that made it possible to buy everything that you need without talking to anyone. You can even skip the line, because when you walk out the door, you will the money will be directly from your account. So you pay directly, and the scan and go is somewhere in between, right? So you do not have to talk to any cashier, but you still have to pay for yourself. So that's the development that we see already. But those local supermarkets also need some help, because otherwise the gap between them and the Amazon Go supermarkets will become only bigger. So that's why we came into practice. Can you go to the next slide, please? Can we see the next slide? Yes. So within JADS, there are 3 main pillars. One of them is the research, which a lot of students or PhDers are doing already, of course. The other one is education, and Florian and Martijn said already a lot about it. But the third one is the valorization. And that might be a little bit difficult word for some of you that don't know it, but it's more like bringing the theory into practice. And that is what we do. We want to help those SMEs become more data driven and thereby decrease the application gap. Well, how do we do that? In projects, those projects consist of 60 to 80 hours wherein the student is working on a question or a research question. And we have helped approximately 100 companies with it for now. There are 50 students active in our current system. And Daan and Riet started this initiative about 3 years ago already, in 2018. And they said, well, we like this idea. We want to help approximately 20 companies in the first year. Sounds like an ambitious plan as well, but it became even more ambitious when the 20 became 40 and they needed a little extra hands. So that's why I came into the data lab as a first-year student. I was at that time, I believe. I had just finished my first project at the SME Data Lab, and they said to me, Mike, we're growing so hard. I want to, we need some extra hands on this. Can you maybe help? So I started helping with the project management, and I supervised some of the students that were executing some of the projects. And after that, I said to them, okay, I finished my study. I did my master's degree, data science and entrepreneurship. And what I really like is to help companies figuring out their next step with data science and even communicate it, because that might be the hardest problem for many data scientists or many technical persons, to formulate all the technical stuff into a language that even the manager might understand. And that is for me the biggest challenge as a data scientist, but also the most fun part to do. So if we can go to the next slide. How do we help those companies? We offer projects. I said a little bit about it just before. 60 to 80 hours. It's a sprint, if you want to use the hipster term for it. Scrum sprints. We all have different vocabulary for it, but it's a project defined for 60 to 80 hours, and it's spread out over 8 weeks. And during those 8 weeks, we answer a research question, and I give you 2 examples later on of a specific research question, one for a very local store and one for a little bit more data science related. We give workshops for companies that do not yet know where to start. Often companies come to us and they say, the data science, I've heard of it, I need it, give it to me. And we're like, okay, so what problem do you want to tackle? What's your challenge? Do you want to save money? Do you spend too much time on a certain task? And they say to me, I don't know, I want to do something with data science. And that might be a little bit hard, because we cannot really formulate a research question for it, and we cannot specify a very concrete end result. So we send them to a workshop, and during that workshop, the companies will talk to students and have a very informative day. At first, they start by filling in a canvas, which is familiar with the business model canvas, and they bring more like everything into perspective. They bring the data context in perspective. make sure that it's all according to the regulations, figure out what data is available, and see whether it can really tackle the challenge that they're having, but also what result do you want? Do you want a dashboard? Do you want a program? Do you want a report? Do you want a whatever you want? And to use students to brainstorm together with the company brings new insights for the company as well. So during that workshop, that's the main focus point, to eventually walk away with one very, very detailed research question. Data buddy Fabian, I'm talking English now, I translate even your name. But the Data Buddy program is something that we do now with the municipality as well. And it combines basically a project and a workshop, because at first they do not know where to start. We give them some guidance on where to start. They define a clear research question. And then at the halfway of the program, we have still some time left to execute the research question and dive deeper into the problem that they're having to create something of more value for them. And sometimes something spontaneous might appear in between, like data science games that we want to organize, or we ask you to write some content for extra money. There are various ways of helping an SME further, but also helping us further and gaining some extra nice pocket cash during your study. Can we go to the next slide? Then I'll give you 1 or 2 examples of projects that we did. And this one is really the one that we use the most, because it's very clear. There's a bakery in Den Bosch, and if you come to study here, you maybe get around and will eat a bossebol, which is a Dutch Den Bosch delicacy, and it's very familiar here in the city. And we did a research for them because they had some problem with their personal planning. They wanted to know, okay, based on the weather forecast, can we predict our amount of pieces of bread that we're going to sell, or our revenue for that day? And we said, okay, that's fine. We will do an analysis on it. And the result was that until 25 degrees, the amount of pieces that they sold, pieces of bread, was increasing, and up until 25 degrees. And from 25 degrees on, I don't know, but some of the people were thinking, it's going to be too hot, the chocolate will melt, it's too warm for bread, I want to eat some salad, I don't know. But the amount of pieces of bread that was being sold was decreasing. So that's one of the results of a project that we gave them, and for now on, it helped them to increase their planning. And they only have to look at the weather, and of course something other variables as well. But it gave them new insights on which they can act, and I think that's the main takeaway point for this project. Then another example on the next slide is Flisco. Can we go to the next slide? Yes. So this is more cool with data science and cool data science stuff rather than the bakery I just said. This is a fabric factory, and they wanted to forecast how much fabric they needed on the beginning in order to on the input, to make sure that the output was the amount that was ordered by a client. Because in between, some fabric might get lost. There was paint on it. It was not sufficient of quality. So they had a certain amount of waste, and they wanted to predict the amount of waste in order to make sure that the output was according to plan. And we used a lot of different variables for it. The color of the fabric, the color of the paint that was used on it, the amount of different colors, a lot of variables. And in the end, there was a result, and we used 4 to 5 different Python models, machine learning models, and they are starting to implement it even. So that's a more technical example of a project that we're also executing, but we help a lot of different companies. So if you can see it on the next slide. Yes, there is not really a sector that we're focusing on. So what you see here is a lettuce, seller of lettuce. We have a bakery, like I just said. We have a retail estate, real estate, not retail, real estate company, a school. We have a lot of different diverse companies that came to us for doing a data science project. And that's also for students, of course, very challenging. Even nicer was that we had a conversation, or we're starting 8 projects upcoming Friday, and 2 of them are from companies that that alumni of JADS are working right now and have worked at the data lab. So they told the company that they're currently working, okay, we have not enough time to execute this idea. So maybe we can use the data lab because I used to work there and they have students from JADS and they are very good at doing stuff like that. So they came to us for a new project, and that's of course because of the JADS network, what we really like. So if we can go to the next slide, I think I'm a little ahead of time, behind time, but it's okay. Why might it be interesting for you? Well, like I said, it's gaining some extra income. You get some extra pocket money, and it's nice. It's like if you go to as a data scientist to the market and you say, I will do some freelance challenges for you, then you'll get the same amount. But at our SME Data Lab, we predefine everything for you and make sure that you get the right supervision from us as well. So we guide you through the whole project and make sure that everything is executed according to plan. You'll work with real life data sets. So at the study, of course, they want to make sure that your deep learning model is working as it should be, because they want to teach you the technique of deep learning, for example. But that is, of course, not the thing in the real life. Most companies need some help with their data cleaning. And that's also interesting for a student, of course. You get a little sneak peek into a data science life. How would it look like if I start working as a data scientist? And last but definitely not least, improve communicative skills. Like I said, the study offers a lot of programming experience and teaches you those awesome deep learning models. But if you work at an SME, most of them are not even there yet. They have to gain those insights first. They have to improve their data. They have to start collecting it right. And after a few years, maybe they are ready to use those awesome, cool data science models. But it's up to you to communicate it to the company. And I think that's the main learning point for most of our students. Not really to show them how cool and awesome they are with using their data science techniques, but more to show us and the world like how to communicate what your model actually does and how it brings value to the business. I often use the example of a model, and if you have a model, you can produce an R-squared, which is a evaluation metric. But if you have an R-squared of 0.8 and you walk to the manager of a company and you say, I have a model that can predict the amount of pieces of bread that I sell, and my model scores 0.8. Then the manager will probably look at you saying, okay, is R-squared, is it something I can eat, or I don't know. So you have to really translate it into manager kind of language. And that's the most challenging part for most of our students. I think that is basically what I wanted to tell. So the next slide is with more information on our website. As you can see, it's .nl. It's mostly Dutch. That's not a restriction that we wanted to have, but most of the companies are situated in the Netherlands, of course. And for most of them, it is already a great boundary to start with data science, let alone talk in English. So that's why I was maybe struggling a little bit with my English, because I haven't spoken English in a few years, I believe. But it's not really that we do not want it to. And of course, we can always try to see if a company wants to have an English student, but most companies are really looking for a Dutch student to communicate it correctly. Like I said, the communication is the most difficult part. So that was from my side. Thank you all for listening. If there are still some questions about the SME Data Lab, please ask me, and I'll also join the Gather Town for any further questions.
Well, thank you, Maaike. And since I don't see any questions right now, I will maybe kick it off. Can you maybe tell us about the most surprising project you have seen since your time at the MKB Data Lab, where you didn't think at first, oh, they could use data or there is a potential, but then in the end of the day, you still found something?
I'm thinking of one. Of course, the bakery is, I think, the best example. But and also another example, which I also found very interesting, is from a company that is cleaning this. What is it called? Fabian, een rioleringsbedrijf. Yeah, there we go. A sewerage company. So they clean the pipes of the water in the a not so very clean company, I would say, to sum it up. And they came to us saying, okay, we want to use predictive maintenance for those electricity houses that you see somewhere, for those sewage, for them. And we said, okay, that's nice. We can do some predictive maintenance, of course, if you want to. So what we asked them, we said, okay, show us your data. And they came to us with an Excel sheet with 5 numbers, totally not structured, something that a data scientist can do nothing with. So the main challenge had to be reevaluated, and we had to change our research question from can we use predictive maintenance to how can we extract the sensor data from those electricity houses in such a way that we can eventually use predictive maintenance. And it took 4 to 5 different projects to get to the point that we could actually use predictive maintenance. But that was something that learned us a lot on how to set the right expectations for the company as well.
That's super cool. Thank you. There's a question in the chat now. Maybe you can.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I see it. Is it possible to join MKBD Lab while the Bachelor Data Science? Yes, this is, you can join us. You can send us an email. We can talk with you, even if you're the Bachelor or if you're deciding to join another data science program, which of course we didn't want today. We want to join, we want you to join JADS. But if you even decide to go to Tilburg or Eindhoven for a data science study, or Amsterdam, I believe there's an artificial intelligence study there as well. You can always contact us, and we have companies throughout the whole Netherlands that are using us in such a way to get more data driven. So yeah, if you're from a bachelor or from any other masters related to data science, contact us. Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, Maaike. This was really interesting, I think. I see also that most of the attendees already filled the questionnaire, the polls that came up. What I'm particularly happy to see is that a bit over 10% of the participants are actually from outside of Europe, and one coming from the rest of Europe, which is quite nice. Internationality is always something that is very much appreciated here. And with respect to the prior bachelors, it's also nice to see quite a almost, I wouldn't say uniform distribution, but it's quite well distributed. So that's nice. And finally, what are you looking for? That's really great, because that's completely across the board. And this is also what JADS stands for in the end of the day, that you can have this diverse approach. You have someone in a team that likes business more, someone who likes engineering, and someone who's just in it for the tech. And when working together, you will create the best solutions as you cover all the different angles. So I would like to set you up for a challenge. Before I will introduce you to the GatherTown app, I would like you to set the following goal to you. Talk to one person, each of the categories. What are you looking for? Maybe just walk around and talk to people and try to find one person with a different motivation for the master for each of these categories. But in order to do so, we should have a look at the GatherTown app itself. If you never used GatherTown, it's not a problem. It's very simple. And you basically just need to follow the following link. Exactly. It should be in the chat now also, yes. The password on the slide is not the correct one, but please use the one that is also displayed in the chat. I will give you a moment. All right, good. So I think it's really guiding you through it. I did it the first time before this meeting. So just set your name. You can set your the character you're using in the bottom. You see the small dark gray area at the bottom of the stream. Just click on your name or the avatar to the left in order to edit them. And if you want to mute yourself within the gather town, or if you want to turn off the camera, you can do that in the bottom right corner. But I think it would be quite nice if we actually see some faces now after the presentation when in the gather town area. If you have questions regarding the gather town, this chat will still stay open for a bit. And please feel free to enter them there. I think, though, it should be quite intuitive. In case you don't make it to the gather town, I really want to thank you for joining this session and listening to us. And I do hope that we could show you the things we love about JADS and why we think that it's a great program. So we really hope to see you soon. And most of all, we would love to see you now in Gather Town. I also want to thank Fabian, Maike, and Martijn for their nice talks on the different aspects of JADS. And yeah, well, I wish you a nice evening and enjoy.